Hello friends, welcome to Wisdom Wings IAS. Here I am Subhash Mishra to cover the brand new series Science and Technology from the Hindu newspaper. So we'll be covering every week now the science and technology related news or opinions or any kind of thing which is happening during the weekday also, weekend also. Will be covering them all together as per our UPSC, Union Public Service Commission, IAS exam, or what you call civil services examination syllabus. And the syllabus in GS paper 3, General Studies paper 3, you have science and technology syllabus. There we have three major portions related to the science and technology developments. We'll be covering that. Okay. So on every Sunday, you will be relying on my teaching over here, and I will be explaining each and every article which are of any of use in whatever capacity the UPSC will be utilizing that. I will be covering that fully. Okay, so it will be also covered for prelims related facts or prelims related any term. If I will be seeing here, I will be telling you that where it will be useful and where in the mains also you will be getting benefited out of these articles. So I'm going to cover today's articles in the Hindu newspaper, Sunday, August 21, 2022. So here is the first of the series, and whatever development after this will be happening will be definitely covered. And I will be trying to cover the last week's science and technology also. But if you are preparing for 2023 CSE, Civil Services Examination, then this is the best place for you to rely on my detailed teachings on science and technology. Okay, so let's start. So today there are three major articles, but we'll be covering only two fully because one article is not that much useful. So the first article I will be talking about is related to Corbevax vaccine, whether it should be the vaccine of a choice or not. What are the heterologous booster? What are the homologous booster? What is anti-AGI? What is the Corbevax? And what are the demands related to these kind of vaccines? Okay, so we'll be covering that. That is the first article. Then we are going to cover the second article, which is very important as per UPSC syllabus, and that is related to the genomics of rice. So how to improve the rice yield with additional genome, that will be our second bigger article. But we'll be going it, as you can see, that each and every para, and we'll be seeing that what does it mean by the genetic modulation and why this term is in news now. And it will be definitely genetic modulation or modification will be definitely will be in your paper next year, okay, in prelims. And in mains, you can write very beautifully about the green revolution and about the crop yield varieties and all those things. Okay, so let's start with the first article, where we'll be talking about the Corbevax booster should be a vaccine of choice. So here we have to first understand that Corbevax is what? Corbevax is a new vaccine, okay? Is a new vaccine which is utilized as a booster shot, booster shot. And what are the booster shot? Whatever shot we are getting, like in the initial doses, we will be having one dose, then second dose after some times. And now whatever doses are there, the third dose or the fourth doses by the government or by the scientific institutions, that is actually the booster doses. And Corbevax is the new booster dose for that. So let's understand that what is Corbevax and from where it has originated. So we'll see here. This you can see that Corbevax see Corbevax here is what? Corbevax is a protein subunit COVID-19 vaccine, and it was developed by Texas Children's Hospital, Center for Vaccine Development, and Bayer College of Medicine, Houston, Texas. So it is an USA based medicine where it was developed, and it is licensed to Indian biopharmaceutical firm Biological E Limited, which is called in short form BioE, for development and production. Basically, manufacturing related licensing has been given by this company of USA to Indian company BioE. So what we have to understand, this is a protein subunit COVID-19 vaccine, Corbevax, which was developed by American company, Texas Children, Bayer College, and Dynavax, and it is licensed to BioE Pharma in India. Okay. So what we can see here is it is related to SARS-CoV-2. The vaccine type, we have to remember very, very clearly that it is protein subunit, and trade name is what? Corbevax. Other names are BCOV2D, biological E COVID-19. BCOV, BCOV2D is same as Corbevax. We have to remember that BCOV2D, okay? And as usual, it is given by the intramuscular. So if in the muscles, it will be given through the injection, okay, syringes. So the more information regarding this is that we can have that technology. What is the technology? The vaccine consists of a version of receptor binding domain, RBD, of SARS-CoV-2 spike protein. So it has been taken from the SARS-CoV-2 spike protein, and it is called the receptor binding domain. And together with adjuvants, aluminum hydroxide gel and CpG 1018, and the protein is produced by yeast Pichia pastoris. The process is similar to that of existing hepatitis B vaccine. So we have to remember that the vaccine is consisting the receptor binding protein of SARS-CoV-2 spike protein itself, along with adjuvants, aluminum hydroxide gel and CpG 1018. And the protein, the very protein, is produced by yeast Pichia pastoris, and the similar process is applied for hepatitis B vaccine development. Okay, we have to remember this much only, not more than that is needed to be remembered. Now, coming back to our article, we'll be seeing one more thing we have to see here. One more thing we have to see here is that we have to understand what is NTAGI. NTAGI. It is the highest advisory body. We have to remember that NTAGI is, or what is the full form? So first of all, we'll see the full form: National Technical Advisory Group on Immunization. National Technical Advisory Group on Immunization is the highest advisory group body on immunization in the country, which consists of independent experts who provide recommendations on vaccine after reviewing data on disease burden, efficacy, and cost effectiveness of vaccines. So what is this? This is the highest advisory body. It is an advisory body on immunization in India, which consists of independent experts who provide recommendation on vaccines after reviewing the data on disease burden, efficacy, and cost effectiveness of vaccine. So it is a recommendatory body related to the vaccine. So this two information is very crucial for us. Now, we'll be again seeing the article and then knowing that what are the details of this. So let's again see this article. So now we know that Corbevax is BioE related licensing and American vaccine based on the protein receptor related to SARS-CoV-2, that is called normally as COVID-19. So faulty clinical design trial has happened. And what is the most important factor is that Corbevax heterologous booster is much more important and much more effective, we can say. Now, we have to remember that 2 primary doses are administered for healthy adults. The approach should be to delay the booster shot as long as possible. This is the first thing we have to remember, that the very, very nearby shots are not needed. the delay in the shots in adults will be much more effective. The second thing is that cumulative scientific evidence and understanding of immunology show that heterologous boosters are better than homologous boosters. Heterologous boosters are better than. So heterologous boosters are better than what? Are better than homologous booster. Homologous boosters. So here we have to understand that what are the heterologous booster and what are the homologous booster. Okay. So let's see that what are those. So heterologous booster is that booster which where we'll be seeing that what we have got at first as first vaccine is Covaxin or Covishield. If we have get that also, then also we can get the Corbevax. So it will be called as heterologous booster. If you have taken 2 doses of Covaxin and then 1/3 dose of Corbevax, then it will be called heterologous. Or either Covishield you have taken 2 doses and then third doses you will be taking the Corbevax, then it will be called heterologous. Hetero means many vaccines. So more than one vaccine will be utilized over in heterologous booster. Homologous booster is that all the doses, whether the first one, second one, or third one, it will be homo. Homo means same. Homologous boosters will be there regarding this. So first, second, and third boosters are homologous boosters here. So definitely what they are telling is that 2 vaccines will be more effective than 1 vaccine. So Corbevax heterologous booster means if you have taken Covaxin or Covishield earlier, you should take the Corbevax for third one. It will be more superior in efficacy. Okay. So they have given that evidence and broader principle is heterologous boosting resulting in greater quantities of antibodies. So more and more antibodies will be available to fight the disease when you are taking the heterologous booster. And homologous booster, same vaccine if you are taking for 3 times, the efficacy will be not as well which is available for heterologous boosting. So we have to remember that BioEase Corbevax vaccine given as booster dose to people who had received either Covaxin or Covishield either during primary vaccination produced elevated antibodies level. So this you have to write in your note. That is the first point. You have to write that heterologous booster are more than one vaccine. Homologous boosters are the same vaccine. So this point also you have to write. And then you have to write that. Third perspective here is this one and then this one. Third perspective is that the doses, the booster shot should be delayed in time between the initial doses and the second doses and the third doses. It is not needed to be given during a very normal duration. It should be extended duration. It should not be earlier. It should be later, so that the efficacy and the antibodies should be greatly utilized for the new kind of variants and all those things. Now, what we have to understand is that approval of vaccines approved by NTAGI, that we have seen that it is a advisory body, National Technical Advisory Group on Immunization. So approval of vaccines are given by this body, but not necessarily the advices will be adhered to by the government. It is an advisory body after all. And in every country, this type of advisory body is there. It is called NITAG, National Immunization Technical Advisory Group. Okay, NITAG. And in India, it is called NTAGI. Okay, so that you have to remember. Now, what we have to see here is that in December last, when Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced the rollout of booster doses for the 3 high-risk vulnerable category, only the same vaccine as used for primary vaccine, that is homologous boosting, was allowed. So earlier, only same vaccine was being allowed because there was a fear that the other vaccine may mix up and there will be more side effect from that. So now it is not the case. Now BioEase Corbevax vaccine given as booster dose to people who had received either Covaxin or Covishield during primary vaccination. Heterologous boosting showed the vaccine to be safe. So heterologous means more than one vaccine is totally safe. So bio is Corbevax is safe to be taken even if you have taken the Covaxin or Covishield earlier. So the third and fourth doses will be utilizing the heterologous boosting, not the homologous boosting. Okay, that you have to remember. Indian drug regulator approved Corbevax as a heterologous booster for all adults. So that also you have to remember that the Indian drug regulator has approved the Corbevax as heterologous booster for all adults. Okay, then what is the next thing we have to understand is that the evidence and broader principles are that heterologous boostings result in far greater quantity of antibodies than homologous boosting that we have talked about earlier also, and now I am emphasizing upon that. A heterologous comparator trial was conducted by Dr. Gangandeep Kang. This is a very famous microbiologist. Now, trial found that people who had received 2 doses of Covaxin followed by Covishield booster showed high antibody levels compared with people who had received 2 doses of Covishield followed by Covaxin as a booster shot. Okay, so what she is telling that Covishield booster, Covaxin followed by Covishield booster shot showed higher antibody. So if you have taken 1 doses of Covaxin, second doses of Covaxin, and then third dose of Covishield shot, okay, so you will be getting more antibody. Antibody will be more and more. But if you have taken 2 doses of Covishield, first and second dose is Covishield, and then you are taking the Covaxin, then you have lesser antibody. So what is the thing here? Covaxin, which is India made, you know, will be more useful in first and second doses, and third doses should be Covishield as per this. Government had recently reduced the gap between the second dose and the booster shot from 9 to 6 months. So now the second dose to booster shot you have to take that you can take within the 6 month of the second dose. Okay, so that is the new guideline. Now, poor uptake. Besides the issue of efficacy, so one issue is that in vaccination efficacy, how much effective is one vaccination to curb the virus, or how to fight with the antibody, what antibody you have actually inculcated through that vaccination, how to fight the virus is called efficacy. So efficacy is a much bigger issue in any kind of vaccination. So differing level of efficacy is there for each and every vaccine you are seeing in the market. Now, what is the second thing is the larger question is poor uptake of booster doses, even among the 3 high-risk vulnerable groups, healthcare or the general public here. Why they are not getting that uptake? What is the uptake here? People are not getting vaccinated themselves. Okay, even in the frontline worker, even in the high, risk people, and those who are 60 years and above age, those are not taking the vaccine. So 3 categories becoming eligible for booster shot. All those group of people are available for booster shot, and that is also for limited period. Government has freed it because of public health logic, because public health should be free. So the government has freed it. Now, vaccination dose does not protect from reinfections, and majority of India's adult population has received both recommended shot. So majorly people have taken the 2 shots, major population of India. But what is the major thing here is that vaccination itself will not will not protect from reinfections. So reinfections can happen even after the vaccines, and the majority of people are already taken. Okay. Therefore, giving a third or fourth or any subsequent shot is not going to prevent infections. So third or fourth shots are not that much effective against the reinfection. Only they will be like boosting the antibodies in the people. The role of boosters in providing other benefits in terms of preventing severe disease or death is also marginal or limited. So what we can see is reinfection can happen even after the vaccination. Then booster shots, that is third shot or the fourth shot, will be not lessening or preventing the severe diseases or death, or if it will be preventing those, the marginal impact can be seen here. So the greater benefits are not here. Now, what we have to see as conclusion here is that also the booster doses of all three vaccine, Covishield, Covaxin, and Corbevax, have been developed based on the ancestral strain and not any of Omicron variant. We have to understand that whatever the original virus was there of SARS-CoV-2, that is the COVID-19 or coronavirus, what it is called nominally, that is not utilizing any of Omicron variants. So Omicron variants are still getting infections to the public. Okay. So that we have to understand. That is the limitation of vaccinations as of now. The level of antibodies produced by first generation vaccine against Omicron is slightly lower. Okay. So we have to see that Omicron is still happening to those people who have taken the vaccination and all those things, because that is the new variant of corona. While research on multivalent or newer generation vaccines should continue. So multivalent means different, it should be catering to the different variants of coronavirus, newer variants of coronavirus. Okay. So multivalent or new generation vaccines should continue. Research should be continuing on the newer type of vaccine, which will be covering all these spectrum of variants of coronavirus. Availability of such vaccines would not make an automatic case of another shot. So only availability will not do good to the public health, but also the uptake. But also we have to understand that there are limitations. So we should be wisely utilizing the public resource for all these kind of vaccination stuff. So now, in conclusion, what we have to understand is that first thing we have to see that Corbevax, Corbevax is the new vaccine and it can be utilized as a third shot or fourth shot. Second thing is that the booster doses, which are heterologous, means the vaccine, different vaccines are mixed match, then the antibodies are more and more. Homologous means same vaccine, if we are giving, the efficacy is little lesser than the heterologous, and nothing more than that is needed to be understood in this article. Hope you understood it clearly. You can also go through it if you want to read it. Then you can go through it and everything is written there. You don't have to go through all these, whatever is written there, other than what is anti-AGI if you have not covered it, and what is homologous and heterologous, what I have told you, and previous vaccines details you should go through on the internet, Covaxin or Covishield and all those things. Everybody has gone through that. So I'm not covering that. If possible, I will be covering all the vaccines related stuff later on. Okay. Now going to the second big article here, and this is the best article I can find, is related to particularly improving rice yield with an additional gene. How we can put a second copy of own genes of a particular yield. Let's say that A is a particular, A is a particular type of, paddy. A is the type of paddy. So I will be taking out the gene from it, its own gene from it, and then reinsert the gene, one more copy of gene, because the copy will be, only one copy will be there available in this type of paddy. One more copy I will attach to the gene of this paddy through, through the genomics, or through what we can say that through the gene modification or genetic modification or genetic engineering, that is called GM. So the yield will be more and more. It will be more than 40%. So this is a miraculous advancement in the research field, and it can come handy to even India, which is a major producer of rice, or in fact the topmost producer of rice in the world. Okay. So we have to understand this article from this perspective, that adding a second copy of its own gene has boosted the yield of a Chinese rice variety by up to 40%. This is a greater achievement, greater thing. And what it is called, adding the same gene again and not any foreign one, can be called genetic modulation. So there is GM, that is genetic modification. Genetic modification is what? Here you actually apply the foreign gene, okay? Foreign gene you apply. But if you apply the same gene again on the same copy, foreign gene is what? You are taking here Bt cotton, then Bt cotton is applying the bacterium called Bacillus thuringiensis Bt, which is like transferred to the Bt cotton crop. Then it is called what? GM crop, genetic modification. But applying the same gene, we can call it genetic modulation. So please write this thing, that genetic modulation is copying the same gene to its own copy, and it will be creating what? 40% of extra rice or extra yield it will be creating. So that is a great revolution it can come up with in the production and productivity. So let's start with the analysis of this in full. That green revolution of 1960s brought about a marked improvement in the yield of agricultural crop. We all know that 1960s was a era of what? Green revolution in India. It was done by the Indian National Congress, or particularly the Prime Minister Indira Gandhi was there. Then green revolution started. And what happened? Use of newly developed high yielding variety. So it was called HYVs, high yielding varieties of crops, were in conjunction with the intense use of irrigation, chemical fertilizer, and pesticide. So what we used? HYVs, we used high yielding varieties, crops we used. Then we used chemical fertilizers we used. And then after that, what we used? Irrigation, high use of irrigation, fertilizer, HYV, and pesticides were used at that point of time to increase the production. But what happened? India saw a threefold increase. So 3x increase was seen in the increase in the rice yield per hectare. So 3x yield increase was seen. Yield increase was seen in the per hectare case. Per hectare rice production, 3x, 3 times. So India saw a threefold increase in rice yield per hectare. We have to write this data that in green revolution of 1960s, we utilized the modern technologies of cropping, and then it gave us the increase in the rice yield per hectare. But what happened after 50 years or so of green revolution? We are seeing the side effects of green revolution. What are those? These are the negative effect of this intense methodology are becoming apparent. That is, nitrogen fertilizers and agrochemicals pose environmental hazard. So there are like related to environment, it is creating a havoc on the environment. Okay, like pollination. So pollination species. So whatever pollinating species was there and which was naturally pollinating the yields or plants are being being degraded, and so many of the varieties of pollinating species have gone extinct also. Okay, extinct, that has been extinct. Now what are the water is often in short supply. The agricultural soil is in the increasingly fatigued state. So soil has been degraded. Water problem has occurred because the water table is decreasing in Punjab, Haryana, and Western Uttar Pradesh particularly. And then all these chemicals have impacted the human health also. So many cancer cases is upcoming in the Punjab area. And not only these chemicals, but these chemicals not only on the human health, but environment also, it has created havoc. Okay, so that we have to remember. So increasingly we are seeing that there is a side effect of this kind of environmental less and humanity less kind of development, fast development. We should utilize organic chemicals or chemical less organic farming, not organic chemical, it is called organic farming. or zero based natural farming also. Zero budget natural farming. It is also called. It is ZBNF has been developed by Subhash Palekar. That also you can note. Okay. Gradually, I will be giving you more and more inputs also. To obtain more food for the world's growing population, forest and grassland would have to be converted in farms in order to produce food. So either we have to cut the grasslands or the forest, which is creating the havoc on the environment, which is already climate change is happening and global warming is happening due to cutting of the forest and due to the grassland and all those things. So enormously strain our ecosystem. If we do that, it will create havoc on the already strained ecosystems. Okay, but how we can get the 40% increase in yield then? A transcriptional regulator that boosts grain yields and shortens the growth duration of rice. So what is the transcription method? Transcription is nothing here but the genetically modifying the crop. Okay, so it will be boosting the grain yield by 40%, what we have seen, and it will be so increase in the yield will be increasing. What is the second thing, positive thing, that it will be shortening the duration of rice. So duration of rice will be shortened more and more. So that both benefits are there. Supercharged biotech rice yields 40% more grain. Okay. So what we have seen in the journal Science has reported this, that if we do the genetic modulation, it will be supercharging the biotech rice. Biotechnologically driven rice yield will be 40% more grain, that we have to see. Chinese rice variety, a second copy of one of its own genes, has boosted its yield by the 40%. When a second copy, a single gene is called OSDREBIC, OSDREBIC, if we can read that. It has the experiment has been done on the Chinese variety of the genes. Is added to the rice, it improves photosynthesis. So it will be improving the photosynthesis. Then the nitrogen use will be increased and speed up the flowering and absorbing nitrogen more efficiently. So you know that the photosynthesis is very important to get the food to the plant, and if the plant is getting the food, the grain will be coming up. Okay, and the nitrogen absorption will be more and more, then the efficiency of yield will be more and more, offering larger and more abundant grains. The change helps the plant absorb more fertilizer, boost photosynthesis, and accelerate flowering, all of which could contribute to larger harvest. So in one line we can say that if we copy the same gene to itself, the yield will be more than 40%. The duration of the crop will be lessened, and we can get more and more benefit out of this type of thing. Now, the rice export scenario, India is the world largest exporter of rice. So in the export scenario, India is what? India in export of rice, India is the first position. India is exporting the most, the most you know the most quantity of rice in the world. It's exported 18.75 million metric ton to over 150 countries during the 21-22. We can see that, thereby earning $6.11 billion. So this is the forex India is achieving through being the world's largest exporter of rice, that we have to remember. Then Vietnam turns out to be the second most producer of rice, and it produced 6.5 million tons in 2021-2022. So you can see that India is the world's largest exporter of rice, but Vietnam is the second most producer of rice, and India clearly is the most resilient exporter. So that we have to understand here. Then what is the gene modulation? A key point is that researchers have added the same gene again and not any foreign one. So that is called gene modulation and not any foreign one. This is best described as genetic modulation. It is not a genetic modification. So you have to understand the GM versus GM. One GM is what? Already you are understanding genetic modification. Genetic modification or genetically modified crop, it is called. So it is coming from the foreign whatever foreign bacterium and all those genes are taken and then inserted into that gene of the original crop, like BT cotton. But GM, genetically modulation, genetic modulation is coming from own gene copy. Okay, so same gene will be copied here. So that this pointer you have to note in your notebook, that genetic modulation is different from genetic modification. And this is the best described as genetic modulation. It is not a genetic modification, and neither is the result transgenic plant carrying elements from another donor. Okay, so it is not a kind of GM transgenic plant carrying elements from another donor. India's GM crops regulation should be based on genes effect, not its source. So it is being also recommended that India's GM crop regulation should be based on what the gene is affecting, not its source, that from where it is coming from. Okay, whether the foreign one or non-foreign one. India has exempted crops which with certain kinds of genetic modifications from regulations previously imposed on the commercialization of all genetically modified crops. So now what is the new thing? India has exempted crops with certain kinds of genetic modifications. India has exempted crops with certain kinds of genetic modifications from the regulations previously imposed on commercialization of all genetically modified crops. You have to understand it very clearly that India has exempted crops with certain kinds of genetic modifications from the regulations. So some crops has been exempted from genetic modifications which are doing uh, from the regulation previously imposed on the commercialization of all genetically modified crops. So earlier it was utilized for all genetically modified crops which are being commercialized. Now, some of the crops has been exempted from genetically regulation or genetic regulation guidelines, even if it is the genetic modification or GM crop. For example, BT cotton involves the transfer of gene from bacterium called Bacillus thuringiensis BT to be transferred to normal cotton. So now only BT cotton is allowed in India for growth, which is GM crop, and all other crop are banned. Even the new one like DMH 11 is there related to mustard. It is not allowed till now, and other crops are also not allowed, which are GM crops. So India's agriculture minister has pointed out in 2019 that they have allowed transfer of their foreign gene to normal cotton produce the BT cotton, which is then manufactured and sold both in India and abroad. So India's agriculture ministry has pointed out in 2019 that they have allowed transfer of this foreign gene to normal cotton. So normal cotton can be also transferred with this kind of gene now. And the produce of BT cotton can be happening through this manufacturing, and it can be sold in India and abroad also. Now, India will import 1.2 million tons of genetically modified soybeans for livestock feed. Now, if the ministry allows the import of GM soybean from abroad, why should it not allow the manufacturing in India itself? So, India is planning to import the GM soybeans. And for what? For the livestock feed only, for the animals only, not for Indian use, not for the Indian population use, but only animal use. But they are telling that the scientists are telling that if you are importing the GM soybean, you can also allow the manufacturing of this in India itself. Why not in India? To add an extra copy of already existing native gene of Drebic or Os Dreb 1C. It is called Os Dreb 1C in rice and not a foreign one, as in the case of BT cotton or BT soybean. India has some excellent rice researchers located in Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Punjab, and Haryana, and genetic engineers in several laboratories across the country. So we have no dearth of all these kind of technical experts, which can be actually utilizing our research capacity, and we can manufacture within India also. All these type of yield varieties can be happening through these kind of native gene in rice. And we should stop taking the BT1, which is only allowed for BT cotton or BT soybean. Okay. Ministry of Agriculture can come together with the Department of Biotechnology, So Ministry of Agriculture, we have to understand that Ministry of Agriculture plus DBT, Department of Biotechnology, and nutrition expert from ICMR, that is Indian Council of Medical Research, should actually strategize that researchers to augment India's role as the major rice exporter in the world. So utilizing these type of native genes and allowing the use of GM soybeans inside India's manufacturing capacity, we should be utilizing these things. So here, in conclusion, what we can say that these OS-DREB 1C should be utilized for our own production of, high yield varieties. And for GM crop, we should be utilizing GM soybean, homegrown manufacturing if we are importing. And DBT, that is Department of Biotechnology, Ministry of Agriculture, ICMR should be paving the path for all these things. We have to remember also that India is the world's largest exporter of rice. Vietnam is the second most producer of rice, that we have to understand. So this is a very great article. We should note, you should make note out of it. Whatever I have highlighted, that you should make the note out of. The third article I was telling about is not needed to be read in fully, because this is not a very great article. Extreme waves of COVID-19. So COVID-19 may have faster than expected growth rate. So what was expected out of the growth rate of COVID-19, dissemination is not that much, easy on growth rate. What was expected, it was faster than that, but that we have to understand. And what we can take out of it, identifying the correct growth pattern at the start of epidemic wave can help in better preparation. So we have to see that the modulation or the models we made on the growth pattern of COVID-19 or the dissemination of COVID-19 as an epidemic needs to be changed so that we are better prepared. So the models needs to be more effective. Also, by identifying the correct growth pattern at the start of an epidemic wave, help us to prepare for future outbreaks or pandemics. Log periodic can warn us of impending catastrophic waves. So logging the log periodic or all these researches which are happening will be saving us for betterment of, lockdowns, and better preparations can be done. So this is only about the models. So the prediction must be great on that part. One bigger thing I wanted to discuss apart from all these three articles is that, do we have new evidence of moon's origin linked to Earth? So it is being told that moon is one part of Earth earlier. Moon was one part of Earth earlier. So that has been now proved by Zurich. ETH Zurich researchers discovered the first definitive proof that the moon inherited indigenous noble gases from Earth's mantle. It means that it was the part of Earth. And it is called giant impact theory. That hypothesis that the moon was formed by a massive collision between the Earth and another celestial body. So earlier, the moon was part of what? Moon was part of Earth. It is called giant impact theory. You have to remember that also. And chemical fingerprint, isotopic signature of the solar gases, that is helium and neon, are found in the moon's interior. So we can say that it is inherent part of solar system. Using the state-of-art novel gas mass spectrometer. So novel gas mass spectrometer is called Tom Dooley. That also you should note. This also you should note, isotopic signature and chemical fingerprints. And you should also remember giant impact theory, which is the hypothesis that moon was formed by massive collision between Earth and another celestial body. Now it has been proved that the noble gases in moon are also in the Earth mantle, and now the moon origin is linked to the Earth. So that we have to remember. Other very small nuggets are there. People who have spent more than 6 hours working on a mentally taxing assignment had higher levels of glutamate, which can disrupt brain function. So you should not work that much on the computers and all those things. What thing is being emanated out of is that glutamate. Okay, the glutamate is being eliminated out of that, and that can disrupt the brain function and make you what? That becomes, physiological response that you will be feeling tired after that. Okay, glutamate makes you feeling tired. So, what is the monkeypox spread situation? So, the monkeypox will be spread from repeated skin to skin contact, and it is the main method of transmission, mostly in men who had sex with men. So, gay men are getting more and more. Skin lesion samples contain more viral DNA than do those from throat. So, these are the information given here in the article. So skin lesion samples are containing more viral DNA. So viral are either DNA or RNA, but we are finding that skin lesions, whatever skin related eruptions are there in the monkeypox virus, we are seeing more and more viral DNA are from those than the throat. So it is outside the skin more, not inside the throat and all. Then there is one more thing which you can write in the mains also. A reduction of 686 million tons of carbon emissions per year could be achieved if every person in the world cycled 2.6 kilometers per day, similar to cycling patterns in the Netherlands. So this is a very good thing that cycling can cut the emissions or global warming, and we can happily live on the planet Earth. So that's it for today, guys. And do comment on the section that how you are liking so that it can give me boost also. And please do watch every episode very, very carefully, and please note, and I will be telling you all the needed information. I will be clarifying by taking this much of toll. You can see that I have gone into the details. Even if the video is long, please forgive me. I will try to cut it down, but please carry forward with this by seeing it fully. It will be very good for you, and every week I will be coming up. Soon I will be also coming up with the Hindu editorial analysis. Thank you. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.